Hello, and welcome to another fully live episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Kody Kinzie. I am a security researcher at Varonis, and today I'm going to be taking your live questions and also talking about some of the cool hacking stuff I've been doing this week. And it's good to see everyone at our standard hacker time, now about an hour late, and of course, an extra 10 minutes. I've got demos for you, though, so don't worry, it was all for a good reason. And one of those demos is this cool little 8x8 screen. So as you can see here, I figured out how to drive these cool little screens that are about $3 on AliExpress. So one of my little triumphs today is being able to print out a 3D printed diffuser, put it on top of a $3 8x8 NeoPixel grid, and be able to display pretty much whatever message I want. Now, obviously, when it comes to like displaying images, the results are a little bit disappointing. I managed to sort of get a cat on the screen, but I gave it like human lips and it kind of looked a little creepy. So if you're looking for creating something really cool and you want a pretty simple way of doing it, I found that this is actually a lot easier than I thought. I kind of resisted trying to use these as signs or messages or whatever because I thought it would be difficult. But as usual, CircuitPython had a 85% perfect guide on how to do this. And only strayed into like including libraries you need like a Raspberry Pi and like a full Linux computer to use a couple of times. Aside from that, though, I managed to get everything except for just displaying an image working on it. So I'm going to be dropping some example code for this and also referencing the guides that I followed. But I was pretty impressed. So if you've been holding out on trying out one of these cool little displays, they are cheap and easy to use. Which is really cool. I thought they would be a little bit more difficult, but in this example, I have a serial program running that is waiting for me to type something, and as soon as it gets it, it starts scrolling it across the screen. Now, ironically, screen scrolling was something that isn't like built in automatically for text. So like CircuitPython lets you like set everything up and then like try to display something, and then it just goes off the page. So in order to actually make it work, I had to use ChatGPT to like write a scrolling function, but it's done and it works. It's based on character width, and it's actually a pretty good job of doing it. So if you want to check this out, it will be something that I'll be dropping a little bit later, just because I love to see these low-cost materials be available to anyone. I'm thinking of making a hacking CTF game out of it. So imagine this. You have one of these and you have to like unlock it, and then it turns your team's color and has like cool animations and stuff, but also it can display messages and hints. So the fact that I can use this with a cool little diffuser to look really beautiful, and then I could also make it like a game piece in a like a hacking CTF, that's really exciting to me. And that's why I'm so interested in being able to write messages on it, because I think it would be cool to have it as like a little, like something you can hack as a team. And then maybe if you're taking too long, it gives you a hint, or if you get something right, like it unlocks itself and like shares like the next flag with you. So yeah, I've been pretty stoked about this. I was up very late last night hacking on these and just trying to learn more and more. And of course, there's other grids that are even bigger available. There's 16 by 16 grids where you can actually display images that are recognizable. And I kind of went through this. I don't know if anybody has seen those like LED like masks for Halloween. For like 2 years in a row now, I've gone to like West Hollywood, California on Halloween and been the only person wearing one of those masks. But it's a bit of a challenge to like find an image or a video or an animation that looks good on that few pixels, because it's like it's a pixel grid, but like there's not really a lot to work with. So it's kind of the same thing here. You really need to be conservative about like what you're trying to put on the screen with 8x8. Like there's actually a couple websites where people just make 8x8 art. And I was like, oh, that's convenient. And I was able to try to copy a couple of those, but overall it's a little bit tedious to do like a full image. I do think it's really cool though. Oh, and also hello, James. Hello, other James, and everybody else in the chat. Good to see you today. I've been running a little bit later than usual, and honestly, it's, I think, improved participation in the chat. Like more people are able to hang out a little later in the day, so I'm going to keep doing it. It gives me more sleep, and it gives me more ability to hyper-focus on some random technical thing. Speaking of random technical things to hyper-focus on, we have a special guest today. Allow me to introduce our special guest. Where are you? Come on, wake up. Okay, well, I guess our guest is sleeping, but our guest is Kali Linux on the Raspberry Pi 5. And I guess I'm discovering that it's picky when it comes to whether or not it wants to display itself. I'm going to hide you, chat, for a second. Is there anything? Do I need to restart it? All right, well, that's embarrassing for our friend, the Raspberry Pi 5. I'm gonna just restart it because I don't care. And I certainly hope that it doesn't ruin anything like our audio. Okay, let's see. So anyway, I got a Raspberry Pi 5. I have been kind of going through my experiences with it and talking about what I like and don't like about it. And I will go over what that is if this manages to connect itself. So frustrating because I can see like the last image of Kali Linux on it and it like looks so good, but it has since stopped transmitting anything over HDMI. Well, all right, that's a fun demo, right, guys? Love to do demos live on the stream. I'm just gonna be unplugging and plugging stuff back in. Whoa, it's two of me. That's really cool. I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna. There we go. That was a little weird, but anyway. All right, we'll save that for a little bit later in the stream. For now, I've got a number of other things to talk about on the stream, including a new video release tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going. I'm going to be releasing a new video on. Well, okay, let me back up. Couple things. First, we just hit 55,000 subscribers. So before I say anything about our new videos, I should talk about that. It has been a pretty long road for us to get to 55,000 subscribers. We've been doing this for quite some time, and for a while we were making videos the same way we were making them on Nullbyte. But the amount of support that I've had has kind of like varied from time to time, and you'll see that sometimes we were able to knock things out of the park and make really great stuff, and other times we had to batten down in hard times and just kind of do streams for a bit and not make any additional content. Obviously, our channel grows a lot more when we make like breakout content, and yeah, it's been good to start doing that more. But it's been also very rewarding to see this core community of people kind of come out and surround the stream. I'm going to overlay you on the chat because I'm talking about you. And yeah, I just want to say thank you very much to everybody who's allowed us to get to this point. It honestly is pretty exciting and cool that we were able to get to 55,000 subscribers. I don't know. There's a lot of channels that don't even get there. So I have to say it's very awesome. It looks like Kali might have stopped being shy. Ah, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, so I'm going to hide you again, chat. I lied. And I'm going to, let's see. Is there a mode where I can just show Kali big? No, it tries to hide Kali. Like this? No, Kali will always be small. Okay, well, whatever. We'll just do split screen. Okay, so I still have default creds. And I'll say that installing Kali Linux on the Raspberry Pi, a couple things to just note. If you haven't done this in a while, it in fact makes it so that you cannot use a 16 gigabyte SD card. Like 32 gigabytes is the absolute minimum from now on. So if you have any like 16 gig SD cards from like previous Raspberry Pis, they're cooked. Like you're not going to be able to do anything with them, which is a little bit annoying, honestly. I kind of wish that was not the case. If I enter full screen, what does that do? No, it just makes it huge for me, not for you. Okay. On this, I have to say my biggest complaint is that it does not support wireless monitor mode. So what I mean by that is that wireless monitor mode allows me to start like listening in on packets and trying to like find interesting things. Can I switch these? Sorry, I'm gonna continue to keep messing with this. Can I make that? Yes, I figured it out. That wasn't that hard at all. Okay, cool. Anyway, so this does not support monitor mode, and I don't like that because in order to listen for interesting wireless signals or run a lot of the programs that I want to run, I need wireless monitor mode. I need to be able to sniff those interesting signals. So I'm gonna attempt to prove it on the stream and show off that this in fact does not work. So let's see. Sudo airmon ng start wlan 0. So this is the command that I would be running in order to put the card into wireless monitor mode. Can I make this bigger? Yeah, cool. Hello, everyone. So I run it. It attempts to turn this Broadcom 43455 into monitor mode. And then we get an unknown error, station mode disabled. So monitor mode command failed. This error indicates that it's not supported, and then we're using the BRCMF Mac driver. And in this case, a little bit of research tells me that it is not able to support monitor mode. So as a hacker, that means that I got to plug in a wireless network adapter into this. That increases the price if I'm considering this for like a class or something. And, you know, like I truly appreciate the Raspberry Pis that have either patches that allow me to use the wireless network adapter in monitor mode, or just support it out of the box. So that's a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, for example, is fantastic about this. And that's why I used it at the Cybercamp last year. The only thing I would say about that is the Raspberry Pis got so hot that it was really challenging to have the kids that I was working with actually be able to complete some of their assignments. Because if it wasn't just a command line thing, those Raspberry Pis really started to cook, and there wasn't much we could do. So let's see. Yeah, so Kurt mentions that they installed Nexmon, and Nexmon is a firmware hack that allows you to take a Raspberry Pi that doesn't usually support monitor mode and start using monitor mode on it. It's basically adding like a driver that does support it. Doing this is somewhat, or making this is somewhat complicated, but installing it is not. And frankly, like having the built-in wireless monitor mode is really nice if you want to do certain attacks. Like for example, you can plug it directly into an Ethernet cable and then run like a evil AP or like a intrusion detection system or something like that, that allows you to detect if suspicious stuff is happening nearby, like Kismet or something. So, you know, like being able to have a all-in-one device, like I'm all for that. I think it's super cool. And that's why I hate the Raspberry Pi 400 so much, is because they almost had an all-in-one device, and then they didn't add a trackpad. So in my hands here, let me switch myself back and also hide this comment. So in my hands here, I have the standard keyboard that most people use to interact with the Raspberry Pi. It has a little trackpad and it has keys, and it's cheap, you know, it's wireless. So the Raspberry Pi Foundation was like, hey, let's take this, put a Raspberry Pi inside of it, and then get rid of the trackpad so that for some reason you need to have like an additional mouse just with you all the time. It's a sort of like we almost got there kind of thing that makes the Raspberry Pi sometimes a little bit frustrating to me. So that's my first gripe. No Name asks, is monitor mode a software or hardware thing? It's a software thing. So generally the hardware will support it. It's a driver thing. And the manufacturer's driver is frequently closed source and needs to be reverse engineered, which is extremely tedious in order to make an open source version. So, hey, maybe AI will help with that. But as far as now, it takes some very nerdy people a long time to figure out how this works and then push out a fix for the community. So as a result, yes, it is something that the actual device is capable of doing. It's just the software isn't written to allow it. And that's because most consumers, I often describe monitor mode as like being in a crowded room, and the way that humans use selective attention in order to pay attention to someone. Like you could be sitting in a coffee shop right now with a bunch of other people talking at roughly equal volume to me, but humans are able to have like a one-on-one conversation because we can exercise selective attention. We can ignore or drop all the other information around us that's not relevant to our conversation or not from the person that we're having a conversation with. And that's exactly the way that this sort of thing works with Wi-Fi. When you're in monitor mode, you're basically able to turn off selective attention and listen to everything at the same time, like you're eavesdropping on everyone. And it's kind of cool because it allows you to do all these things that you normally couldn't do with Wi-Fi. So if a wireless network adapter doesn't support monitor mode, it's a lot less interesting to me. At that point, it's just a data link. Whereas otherwise, it can be many things. It can be a sensor, it can be an offensive tool, it can be all sorts of cool and interesting things. So I'm firmly on board with it should support wireless monitor mode because like it just should. Like it's a useful tool and people are going to use it for more things than just a data link. But unfortunately, that is what this is. So let's talk about some other things. James said, I would happily have taken a ThinkPad nub to use as a mouse. I agree. Anything to just get your mouse around, because like assuming that people will only use a Raspberry Pi for command line things is silly to me. And again, like having to carry around an extra mouse just because they like couldn't get the license for it or the technology was tricky. Like, I don't know, but like for, you know, for $10 on AliExpress, I'm able to get like a fully functional like keyboard that looks just like a Raspberry Pi 400, but you know, what do I know? So anyway, All right, so let's talk about some other Raspberry Pi Kali Linux stuff. So I am currently running, oh, that's not the right keyboard. I hope that shortcut didn't do anything to the stream. Is that what the registry, is that what that little red nub thing is? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just know that the ThinkPads are famous for this, and that I've seen people recently use it as a dimmer switch as well. So its popularity has gone beyond the form factor of just the ThinkPad. All right, so let me see. It's a little small, but let's take a look at what is installed by default on Kali Linux in, let me enlarge this, on the Raspberry Pi. So, of course, this is directly over my overlay, so it's kind of hard to see. Actually, it's even harder to see like that. All right, there we go. So we can see we have all the standard stuff like a text editor, the file manager, the web browser, yeah, docs, all that stuff. That's great, but let's take a look at some of the specific things. So for information gathering, I'm seeing things like Nmap, which is great. Maltego. Maltego is actually the installer. But I think that I have successfully like set it up now. Does Maltego open? I'm curious. Trying to open Maltego on Raspberry Pi is going to be interesting. One thing I will also say about this Raspberry Pi is it gets hot. Like I can see why they sell like a cooling module with it. It is frankly very hot, and I don't necessarily enjoy how hot it gets, how quickly. Maltego Classic, Maltego Free. Cool, yeah, Maltego Free. It's going to make me make an account. Okay, yeah, no, accept. I just feel like at some point it's going to make me make an account. But anyway, so we can see that it started up pretty quickly, honestly, for a Raspberry Pi. Like, this is a lot better than what I was expecting. So information gathering, got some good ones. I want to see what else is installed by default. Wait, there we go. All right, so for vulnerability analysis, anything I know, we've got Nikto, Nmap, Legion, VoIP. We've got a subset of VoIP tools, web application analysis, WP scan, web shells, SQL map, skipfish, comics. Okay. One vulnerability scanners. Interesting. I wonder if it has OWASP SAT. I'm curious. SQL map, password attacks. All right. We have Cool, Hashcat, Crunch, John, Medusa, Ncrack, and then a bunch of word lists. Hey, that's nice. Or I feel like the word lists are like download on demand, but that's still really cool. For wireless attacks, this is what I'm really interested in. We've got Wi-Fi, Reaver, Pixie WPS, Kismet, wonderful, but we can't friggin' use it. Fern Wi-Fi Cracker, old school. Aircrack NG, and then we've got some Bluetooth tools. There's only 2 of them, but or maybe there's only one. Yeah, there's just one, Spoof Tooth. So there's not really much else on there. But all right, so for reverse engineering, we've got Nashim Shell, Radar 2, and Chang++, no Ghidra. Then for exploitation tools, Metasploit framework, that's good to see. SQL map again over and over, and then social engineering toolkit, which requires root, searchploit, payload generator. For sniffing, we've got Scapy, Wireshark, NetSniffNG, man-in-the-middle proxy, Minicom, Mac Changer, which is great. I'm glad we have Mac Changer. I hate it when that's not installed and I'm like on an airplane or something. Post-exploitation. Wow, we've got a lot of stuff. Weebly, Netcat, Mimikatz, Evil Wimref, Forensics, Binwalk. Oh, Binwalk. That's really great. Okay. Autopsy. I've never run that. Sleuth Kit set, and then Hash Deep. Reporting tools. These are nice. Maltego's on them. There again, I don't really know them. Oh, Faraday. I actually know Faraday. All right. And then social engineering tool. We got MSF payload creator, and then social engineering toolkit again. So that's just what's installed by default on the Raspberry Pi 5 version of Kali Linux. When you're doing the Raspberry Pi installer, it like gets pretty specific about like which hardware you're running and like which like version of the software you want. And this was a good 30 to 45 minutes to do like a full update and upgrade to get things running. So Yeah, looks like I didn't see any Burp Suite. I was hoping to see OWASP Zap. In fact, I'm gonna, do we got OWASP? Nope, no OWASP. Do we got Burp Suite? Nope, no OWASP, no OWASP, and no Burp Suite. So when it comes to web application pen testing tools, running a little bit light, honestly. It's going to be annoying to install those, honestly. But you know, got to do what you got to do. So yeah, if you guys have any questions that you want me to ask our friend, the Kali Linux Raspberry Pi here, I am happy to do so. But otherwise, that has been my general experience with the Raspberry Pi. It's got a little bit lighter than expected of the like payloads I was looking for. So again, like web application pen testing tools, I kind of expected there to be like something. A WASP Zap would have been like my expectation, but it's not there. So I'll have to install it. Aside from that, it gets hot and you're going to need a wireless network adapter if you want to do anything on it. Burp is 8 GB RAM required. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, so another reason it might not come pre-installed is that not every version of the Raspberry Pi 5 has 8 GB of RAM. And I don't believe that it asked me how much RAM I had when I was selecting my device in the Raspberry Pi installer. So I imagine that they would target the least capable spec model of the Raspberry Pi 5 with this release. That's probably why a lot of stuff, yeah, that's probably why a lot of stuff wasn't there. OWASP doesn't fund Zap anymore. I wonder, just because I was trying to use it like 2 days ago and it was just broken, and I was getting like a super confusing like error that like I couldn't find any sort of like resolution on. So yeah, if there was a little bit of turmoil going on there, I wouldn't be completely surprised just based on my recent attempt to use the product. No, is it really? No way. I run it on a 4 GB RAM machines a lot. Okay, well, I guess you guys will have to figure out between yourselves whether whether or not. I personally haven't been using Burp Suite because of Portsrigger's attitude. I'm like, hey, I really want to show people how to use your thing. Like, can I get like a week-long license to use it? And they're like, here's a like 3-day license, and then you can email us again. And at a certain point, like I go to record, and then like, you know, my license expires, and I'm just like, I'm not a pen tester. Like, I'm not going to pay for this. Like, I'm trying to present to other people who are going to eventually pay for it how to use it. But yeah, it's been really annoying to get them to give me a Burp Suite license. And usually, like, Maltego is amazing. VPN companies are amazing. Like Mulvad like gave me like a bunch of VPN credits for journalists when I was teaching about that. There's a lot of like security companies that have been so cool about licensing, and then like for whatever reason, like Portswigger is just like penny, like just they want the pennies. So yeah, that's why I don't use Burp Suite. Like I think the beginners should be able to get access to good tools that aren't deliberately throttled. And frankly, trying to go through like Portswigger Academy with like throttled Burp Suite is one of the most torturous, because like, you know, they like deliberately throttle like how quickly you can send requests and stuff. So like completing their own training takes so long. It's just like, I don't want to do it. It's faster to just do it in Python, honestly. So that's my beef with Portswigger. I love their product. I just wish that they made it easier for people like students and other like beginners who aren't pen testers but are trying to learn. I think that like if your product is so nerfed, it takes like 4 hours to complete one of your own assignments on Portswigger Academy, then like you should seriously reconsider your policy towards like giving people licenses. That's all I want to say. All right. So some other things. Let's say goodbye to, oh wait, no, I said goodbye to myself. Now I need to say goodbye to our guest, the Raspberry Pi 4. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Aside from just text, there's also other things you can do, such as images. I found this one via a guide that was actually really well documented, and I talked about that on our Discord server. If you want to check it out, I documented these projects showing where, you know, if you want to do a little Valentine's Day thing, if you want to use one of these displays to be able to make a cute little display, especially it looks a lot better when it's diffused, then this is something that is pretty easy. All right, so I also wanted to share an idea that I had. So last time I was talking about LoRa, and let me see. Oh, by the way, I just want to share this. This is my favorite sticker that I got from the NSA. I went to the booth, I think it was at the RSA conference, but it might have been Black Hat. And I saw these stickers, and I just started taking them until like a couple people told me to stop. Honestly, I love them, and I distributed a lot of them at the at the conference. So yeah, if you haven't seen the sticker, this is my all-time favorite NSA sticker, and whoever at the NSA made that sticker, I think that you are a real winner. Oh, I've also been beta testing using. I think you guys are aware that I'm obsessed with these new kind of like fairy light NeoPixels, and using them as a badge hanger is an idea I had. So maybe at a conference, being able to have an upgrade to our usual badge that allows you to have the lanyard itself be a part of the game or the expression. Now, this is obviously a pretty dramatic example. Some people told me this would be super overwhelming to be talking to someone and having their badge like going crazy like that. But you know, it is something that's possible now, and I think I'm going to make an optional upgrade. Some other things I've been looking at is I've been buying a lot of microcontrollers and just testing them out, seeing their plausibility and whether or not they work well. This one is a little bit of a mystery to me. It's $1, and the data sheet says that it is dog, cat, cowbird, frog, tiger, various animal call, 10 kinds of gun sounding, eat chicken explosion, sound integrated IC. And apparently, depending on which pins you touch, it makes one of these sounds. I have not tried it myself yet, but for $1, I am interested in figuring out how it works. So, all right, so this is what I want to talk about. So I am plotting on doing an episode that is kind of a follow-up to one of our very first episodes on Security Forward, which was like, how far can Wi-Fi signals go? So that episode found that when my friend and I went to the very top of the like Hollywood sign and started broadcasting, actually, no, we were receiving signals around us. We were able to receive signals from up to 5 miles away. So line of sight seems to be pretty important, and LoRa has a reputation for being able to send signals even further. So there's actually, okay, so there's 2 videos that I did. One of them was hacking computers from blocks away. And the second one was how far can Wi-Fi travel? So it's just like, what if I combined these like project into a single one, and I make a basically a USB nugget that's capable of hacking a computer from really far away. So this is kind of what I'm thinking, and I would love some feedback on this because I just had this idea, I think like 2 days ago. All right, so we have our one LoRa board, which can I make this bigger? Yes, let's try it. All right, so we have our one LoRa board, and this, presumably I would just, mount this somehow. But we have our one LoRa board that's plugged into a computer. Let's say it's my computer, and I want to be able to remotely wipe my hard drive if I suddenly decide I no longer want my computer. It happens to us all the time, right? You're just off in the woods on a hike, and you're just like, you know what? I don't want my computer anymore. I would love to just format my hard drive right now. So provided I've got line of sight, so if I'm on like a mountain or something, theoretically, I should be able to take my second device, select a payload, and this could either be like a payload index, so like, a number that tells this other one which stored payload to run, or a base 64 payload. Although LoRa really doesn't like verbose data transmission. The more data you send, the less the range is, and that's because you sacrifice like bit rate and like how much data you're sending for receivability. If you're sending like a single character, then the receivability is really great because the signal propagates much further, and it also is easier to detect it even if the signal is faint. If you're sending a lot of data, the problem is that data can become garbled, and in the end can become corrupted or like otherwise interfered with by other local signals, which reduces its range. So if I were kind of to try to design this, I would have I think like a couple preset ones where you can just send like a number and it'll execute the payload. And then you could also do a custom one and send that over with the expectation that maybe the range would be cut as a result of that. So James says, for legal reasons, the Fed kicking in the door right after the wipe was a complete coincidence. Yeah. So let's say, I'm looking and I see from the top of a mountain, like 5 miles away, I see burglars breaking into my house through my, magnifying glass, whatever. I know, and I decide that I want to wipe my computer from that far away. I should be able to press a button on this one, have the signal go out over this antenna, be received by this one, and then have USB commands like a keyboard kick off on my computer, like logging in, opening a terminal, and then executing a wipe. Now I could also just like open up a bunch of annoying things, log into a different application. It really like, it's really pretty open what I could do. I could be logging my computer in when I get home. I could be logging it out if I forget. It could be wiping it remotely. All of it is possible. The point is that you're basically able to just take two devices and link them and then use the full capability of one remotely by triggering it with a second over LoRa. So I think, honestly, I'm going to make two different breakout boards for the Nugget. This one is going to be the one that I think is more long-term because this is going to require some thought and attention, and it takes a lot more pins to connect it, as you can see. But it's very cheap. I can get these boards for like $3 or $4 on AliExpress if I buy a bunch of them. Whereas these boards are like minimum $13 to $15 like per each. So like this one is much more expensive to put together, but it just works really easily and it's way easier to wire. So I think I'm going to be making a demo using this one that shows off exactly how you can make a remotely triggered Nugget and execute it from really far away with a protocol that's resistant to jamming and has an extremely long practical range with very low power. So I think LoRa is super cool. We've been talking about it on the show a fair amount, and I'm encouraged enough that I want to keep programming with it. So I wanted to make this demo last night. I was up until, I'm not going to tell you, it's my business how late I was up. It's no one's business. But I was up really late working on getting the LED thing working and like not only making it so that it could display images, but also like getting it to scroll text. So I sacrificed the other prototype for getting this one running. But that is going to be something I'm working on for the next week. Oh, and I also wanted to mention while this is while I see this on the screen, that I have some new classes coming up. So I partnered with Nullspace Labs, which is a hackerspace in Los Angeles, to make some online classes. So if you book your ticket through the Nullspace Labs meetup page, then they get money for every ticket that you buy. I really like supporting local hackerspaces, but I find it's very hard to cram all of you into that hackerspace. I have a lot of interest in people all over the world. So we decided to do some online classes. We have Introduction to Programming with CircuitPython and the USB Nugget. We have Learn Bad USB Hacking with the USB Nugget, and then Cat-Shaped Wi-Fi Defender, hands-on hacker hunting with microcontrollers. All of those I'm going to be doing in collaboration with Nullspace Labs. So if you're in Los Angeles, make sure to check out Nullspace Labs. It's an awesome place. But if you're not in LA, you can still help this awesome place be able to stay open even in hard times and continue to offer educational classes to the community, as well as a space for hackers and nerds to hang out and hack on stuff. So some questions. Does LoRa have error checking? I'd hate to wipe a computer when I want to turn on a light. Yeah, so like there is, aside from just how much data you're sending, there's also a relationship between how much error checking you're doing. So the less error checking, the more likely it is that the command gets corrupted. So for a command like wiping your computer via a LoRa system, the ideal way of doing it would be to send like a single character or like a couple bits or something really, really small that you're listening for and understand. But you and then have a high amount of error correction so that you're 100% sure that when something came through, it was that actual command. You don't want, like I was noticing at the extreme end of the range of the LoRa chip I was working with, I was starting to get just garbled stuff. And that's because it was receiving the signal, but the signal was sending so much data and had so little error checking that I was getting nonsense characters printed to the screen. I was like, oh, well, that's not good. Because yeah, like James is saying, if you were controlling something important, like one command turned on your light and the second one like shuts down your computer hard and potentially corrupts data or just wipes your computer, then you've got a potential problem if you're using LoRa in a way that it's not very good at being used. Let's see. LoRa tag game. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we were considering all sorts of things for like DEF CON and other like upcoming games where we're trying to make either CTFs or fun interactive games. Last year we did laser tag, and this year we're looking at all sorts of cool things. We're looking at integrating Wi-Fi into the game we did last year, but LoRa is an interesting possibility. It would definitely work, and at this point, it's probably the only thing that would work throughout the entire convention center. It's just a little expensive, at $3 per module, you're looking at a little bit more expensive than like a GPS module, which also would not work inside the convention center. Oh, so yeah, let's also just mention DEF CON got canceled and uncanceled. If you didn't hear about it, DEF CON abruptly had its contract with Caesars terminated, and they're just not interested anymore. So yeah, like pretty crazy that like the entire conference got canceled and the DEF CON people had to go out and last minute book the convention center. Kind of cool because Black Hat is usually in the convention center. So for me, that just means I'm staying in the Mandalay Bay for even longer. But aside from that, it's good that it's not being canceled. It's just weird because it's been in the same place for a good amount of time. So this is a comment that I resonate with. LoRa transmitter on a drone to get line of sight from anywhere. That is exactly what I am going to do. So in my test, I'm going to have like an exposed LoRa receiver somewhere outside, and then I'm going to use my drone and try to get as far away as I can while still flying the drone up and getting line of sight and seeing what kind of distance I can get. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat hard. I'm going to be on top of a mountain, like transmitting to as far away as I possibly can. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to have some radios. I'm going to be talking to friends who are like, checking the receiver and whatnot. I think it's going to be a good video when I get around to making the prototype and testing it. It is pretty small, honestly. So the fact that you can fit this on the bottom of a drone and it should work just fine is remarkable to me. This uses UART to communicate. So this little curly Q thing is actually like the antenna plus the modem. So you just send AT commands to the modem, it sends it, and then it sends you back the reply over UART. It's all kind of just done in the chip. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, being able to add that is to whatever project you're working on and not have that much overhead is really cool. But as you saw, the complexity of the wiring is the price trade-off, right? You either get the super simple 4-pin UART, like it is the modem, but it costs $13 per link, or the $3 one where it's just like wires everywhere. But if you made a good PCB or breakout board, then it's probably actually the way to go if you really want to scale things. It's kind of cool. Let's see. Am I running these workshops classes multiple times? Yes, we will be. I'm running 2 a day. So not this upcoming Saturday, but the Saturday after. I'm going to be doing 2 workshops that day. And then I've got another one scheduled for another week after that. So, but I will be running these again. I'll be running them at conferences. So these are all workshops that I ran at the C3 conference, and they went so well. I was just like, let's just schedule these. And we're always looking for great ways to try to work with null space labs. Like they're a great hackerspace, and frankly, if we're going to be working with a group of people, we love the people at null space. So yeah, I will be doing that, but I do not have release dates yet. James is speculating that last year there was a bomb scare that almost shut down the last part of DEF CON. It very well could be. These places are kind of risk averse, and I imagine DEF CON makes a lot of money, but it depends on, it depends. So I don't know. It's all speculation. I don't really know, but it is a little curious that after all these years, suddenly they want nothing to do with us. Does LoRa have multiple frequency ranges or only one frequency? LoRa has multiple frequency ranges. Within the United States, I believe it's 915 megahertz. And if I'm wrong, I imagine a radio person is spawning right now to tell me. But yeah, it is unlicensed scientific band of the United States. But there's also 2 or 3 other different radio bands that LoRa functions on, depending on what part of the planet you are in. The only one that I believe is legal in the United States is the 915 megahertz one. But within that, there's also specific frequencies you can select. There's also so it's a little interesting because on the, let me pull up the photo again. So on the, on this module right here, in order to set it up, I have to select the frequency that I'm operating on, select the, node or network or whatever, and then select the address. And then if these are both operating on the same frequency, the same node, or I think I'm forgetting a word there, but then also transmitting to each other's address within that structure, that allows for successful communication. When it comes to this one, I just specify a sync word, And that sync word is what allows this one to know that it's being communicated with. But I didn't really do any of the setup that I did on this one. So it's a little weird that both of these are LoRa radios, but the protocol or like the process for sending a message on them is slightly different. I'm using Arduino for this one, and I'm using CircuitPython for this one. So that's also a little bit of a difference. Radio person here, I think you're correct. Okay, I was sweating, just knowing that if I was wrong, someone was going to tell me that that is actually a medical band, and you will get in like a lot of trouble. In Europe, it's 868 megahertz. That squares. That looks pretty correct. I have been really impressed by the guides by Random Nerd Tutorials. So I don't know if you guys have seen this website. Let me try to pull it up. But of all the different guides that I found for putting together like a LoRa module, this one I think was the most friendly and probably the easiest to understand. So Random Nerd Tutorials just makes awesome stuff. Introducing LoRa, they go through like how all the networking stuff works. We're just doing point-to-point communication. They talk about the correct way to wire them together, which you can easily modify. And all I did, oh, and then also they solve the problem of how do you get this little like weirdly spaced thing to fit properly onto a breadboard because it doesn't fit, as you can see here. So like if you want just a quick start guide on how to use these things, the $3 modules that I've been saying are like a good deal. Oh yeah, here are the different frequencies. 868 for Europe, 915 for the United States, and 433 for elsewhere. So yeah, like the setup on this obviously looks a little crazy. I just picked like random pins for most of these and defined them manually in my code, but I released this both on our Discord server and then also on GitHub, and I'm going to be making a video about it as well. So yeah, I highly recommend you guys check this out if you're interested in adding like long range wireless links to any prototypes or anything else you're working on. Like I really enjoyed working on this LoRa prototype, and even though they're a little bit different, it seems like it is relatively easy for a beginner to get started. All right, so hi, Kobe. Hello. I have a question related to SDR and radio. Do you have any resource to let me learn about SDR and radio? I highly recommend the RTL SDR and their blog and all of the great stuff that they put out. RTL SDR is by far the cheapest way to get started. And I tried to really cheap out on this, and I went on an AliExpress binge and I tried to find the cheapest RTL SDR module I could find, and I got scammed. It is not usable. So you like the cheapest one I was able to find was like $13 to $20 to $22. Like it seems to be like the very cheapest you can find. But once you have one, it allows you to run a variety of different SDR related programs. You can track airplanes. You can listen in on like transmissions that are not encrypted, and you can even decode digitally encoded transmissions. So there's a lot of really great stuff that you can do with an RTL SDR. Let me see. RTL SDR. I believe like rtlsdr.com or yeah. This would be like my go-to. The RTL SDR is great. You will find a lot of things you can do, and I have written several guides about what you can do with the RTL SDR. So I think also I'm considering this for the cybercamp that I'm going to be doing like this July. If I can get them for relatively cheap, it would be really cool to teach kids about radio frequencies and like how to capture them and all that stuff. So RTL SDR for the win is my favorite recommendation. They are cheap. Yes, the RTL SDR blog has a guide on counterfeit dongles, which I believe I'm at. So yeah, if you should check that out beforehand, because like some of these like really ultra super cheap like digital TV tuner kind of things like are not actually able to be used, and they're not accurate enough, and they really are not good. Yeah, and Tech Minds also has a bunch of SDR videos. Yes, going to be your next set of purchases. Yeah, I think that like I'm really, really pleased with what I'm able to do with mine, and the price point is nice. One thing that's funny though is I one time attended DEF CON when there was somebody who was using a Raspberry Pi connected to an RTL SDR to listen in on radio frequencies that were exfiltrating information. And as they were using the RTL SDR and it was getting hot, the frequency was drifting so much that it was no longer able to receive from the radio source. So just be advised that if you get the version that has like the big, thick aluminum heatsink and is able to discharge heat effectively, it matters because the frequency will start to drift and you'll start to like plug in one frequency and like get another like in the SDR software you're using. So that's a fun little quirk. Let's see. I'm currently learning about SDR and I'm interested in the unique identifiers and tire pressure monitor sensors. Yes. So let's see. Police body cams have these. Tire pressure sensor monitors have them. Smartwatches and other devices have them. These unique Bluetooth identifiers are definitely able to be tracked. So tire pressure sensor monitors, I'm not sure. Some of them use Bluetooth, and Bluetooth is 2.5 gigahertz, which I believe is outside the range of what the RTL SDR can receive, unfortunately. But some of them, I think, use a different frequency. So if you know what frequency it is, put it in the chat because I'm interested. But I have been using, like, for example, I'm looking at using the ESP32S3 as a Bluetooth sniffer to try to find the versions of these that use Bluetooth to communicate, the tire pressure sensors and also body cameras. Dragon OS is good for wireless stuff. Yeah, I've actually heard from Angelina, one of our wireless and OSINT experts, that Dragon OS is great for this sort of thing. And I believe that she was using or recommending it for one of her classes. Let's see. Okay, so one thing I wanted to point out, and this is kind of an interesting cyber scam. Where is it? Here we go. Okay, so I know a lot of you already know about this, but if you are new, this is kind of a mind blower. So if you saw a solid state drive plug and play, and you could buy a 60 terabyte flash drive for like $13 on AliExpress, what would you say? The problem with this is, in fact, it is just an SD card. So I love the comments on this, like exposing what's going on. So here, this person actually took it apart, and you can see that they got to look at the internals, and it's just a PCB that connects an SD card, which has been flashed with software to say that it has a higher capacity than it actually has. So that this other person is like, horrible SSD. It can barely install games over 15 gigabytes. The stream says corrupted disk each time I try to install a game. So that is because it is literally a 16 gigabyte SD card that has been flashed with firmware that misidentifies itself. And anytime you fill it up with more than 16 gigabytes of data, it just drops the rest of the information and the files become corrupted. So if you suspect that something is too good to be true, think twice. Of course, like these could also be like infected or something like that, but this appears to just be a scam. Like they're trying to find a way to get rid of these cheap 16 gigabyte SD cards. So they are selling 60 terabyte solid state drives for, again, like $12, $13, and hoping that nobody notices that they are that they are actually fake. Beware. If it seems too good to be true, then it probably is. Oh no, it's fake. Darn. Yeah, I know. I was just like, there has to be a catch here, because when you plug it in, like it does identify itself as the proper size, but if you try to transfer a file, that's where they get you. I am currently registered for 0-day CTF, but I have no idea where to start and learn. I don't either. I've never done that CTF. So I would recommend if there's any resources on like either playthroughs or like a guide on what it's about, like what the challenge is going to be. A lot of this stuff, as far as I've seen from my recent research into CTF, seems to be like, reverse engineering a piece of text that's like either enciphered or encoded. Like being able to like figure out binary and like some of this other like computer sciencey like skill. Those sorts of things are the general challenges I've seen with CTFs. But there's more advanced ones that involve, like doing like some networking or like maybe breaking into something that's vulnerable. I'm not sure which one yours is. I have never done that CTF. So unfortunately, I am unable to advise. All right. So I think that's just about all we have. Never mind. So there's one thing I also wanted to mention. And that is the battery add-on. I don't think I announced it anywhere except our Discord server. So for a while now, I've been making the open source Nugget board. It has been pretty consistently used by a lot of people who have interesting ideas. But one thing they've asked about a lot is whether or not it has a battery. And at first I was just like, no, why would it need a battery? Like, we don't need a battery. You just plug it into a computer and it works, but that's not always true. So there is some circumstances where you would want a battery. Like, for example, if you want to have like a Wi-Fi nugget that can attack. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. I see why that was broken. If you want like a Wi-Fi nugget, for example, that is able to attack without being plugged into a computer, then you can do most of the attacks from the screen. Like, you don't need like a second thing. So I just thought that these battery breakouts are particularly beautiful and cool. I want to show them off. Let me put this up on the screen. So our friend and guest on the stream, Aria, designed these. And there's a couple design features that I just think are like really awesome. And I want to like shout them out. So first is these are designed to take like Adafruit style batteries, and they plug directly into a Wi-Fi nugget, but you can use them for other projects too. But if you get the wrong type of battery, let's say that you get one that's wired backwards, you can either rewire the battery, which is not that hard, or you can take a soldering iron and you can move this resistor and this resistor up to here and here. And that actually allows you to use a reverse polarity battery. It also has reverse polarity detection. So there's a little pole with an exclamation point here. And this warning light turns on if you plug in a battery that is the wrong polarity. And it should also prevent your board from getting fried. So finally, there is a trace that can be cut. And I think it's, oh yeah, Lion right there. So if you cut the trace right here in this box, what happens is you're able to use AA or AAA batteries with this breakout. So you can like wire them into the port here, and it will disconnect the section that recharges it and basically allow you to use a different battery source. I think that's so cool. Frankly, like the fact that Aria has considered so many different scenarios and like made something that has so many different options. I kind of want to bring her back on the show and just talk about like, when you're designing something that has so many uses, like what are all the things you have to think about, and like what kind of features do you think are worth including, like reverse polarity, and which ones are optional. I think that like obviously like including like different battery sources, that's probably optional, whereas the reverse polarity detection is probably mandatory. So I was just really happy with how this came out. But yeah, like and because so many people had been asking about a battery add-on, you can expect to see these at DEF CON and other conferences that I'll be going to, because I have a bunch of them on the way, and I think they're really cool. So that's just about all I have time for this week. I think I covered everything. We've got the 55,000 subs, which, by the way, thank you very much to everybody who's been following the stream and the show for years now and gotten us all this way. Next goal, 100,000. And I think that if we're making more videos and we're doing more breakouts, it's not going to be long till we get there. Let's see. So yeah, let's go ahead and close this one out. As usual, a big shout out to Veronis for making sure I can do this stream every week. Last week, we went through the interesting disclosure about NTLM hashes and how you could potentially trick people's device, people's Office 360 accounts into revealing their hashes and potentially be able to like break that hash and log in as their account, which is pretty crazy. If you want to check that out, you can go to veronis.com/Kody. That's KODY. And as usual, they do check to see how many people follow that link. So if you want to support the stream, you don't have to spend a dime. You can just follow that link and they will know that you support us and want us to keep going. So that's all I have for this Wednesday. I'll be back on Friday with Killian, I hope, to go through all of the hacker news of the week and talk about some of the security tools that I want to highlight, hopefully including that long-range hacking prototype that we were talking about, including maybe even the version that uses the drone to like hack a computer from really, really, really far away. So thank you guys for all the good ideas. I will see you on Friday, and goodbye, everyone.